First of all, I'd like to say welcome to everyone. Thank you very much for coming here today. I got here this morning by bike, and an interesting thing happened. Is that often my very favourite moments of cycling in London was this morning. In one traffic jam, I overtook one Ferrari and one Lamborghini on my little Brompton. And I first of all just wanted to share that with you, but we'll come back to that because maybe that's an interesting metaphor that we want to look at. First of all, I just want to say on behalf of Friends of the Earth and all the organisations that have been involved in putting this conference together, a big thank you. And I'm going to go, this normally happens at the end of the day, but I'm going to say it right now, a big thank you to Beth Stratford for pulling this together. Fantastic effort. I don't have a speaking slot later, so I thought I'd better say that now. Why are we here today? Well, you can see it in the subtitle of this conference, Fresh Thinking on Democracy, Finance and Debt. And my goodness, we need some fresh thinking. The lending decisions of banks, investment and pension funds, they really shape the long-term direction of the economy, the health and direction of the economy. And yet we've seen that a lot of those investments, a lot of those decisions have taken us in profoundly wrong directions over the last few years. And at Friends of the Earth, we do want to have some deep thinking going on about how we can change that. I'd urge you to have a look at this document at the back of the room, which is our prospectus for our route map project, trying to plot a route map from a planet in peril to a world of well-being. And in there, one of the key questions we're going to be asking over the next couple of years, involving lots of universities and experts, is how can we get money flowing to socially useful activities? You would have thought that in 2013, at this stage in humanity, we shouldn't have to be asking that question, but we are. But more specifically, why is Friends of the Earth particularly so interested in this whole area of transforming finance? Well, I'm going to give you 4 key points to reflect on today. First of all, we think boom and bust is bad for the environment. It's bad for the economy, we've seen that. But it's also particularly bad for the environment. Why? Well, when we have a bust, what you see is time and again business leaders and politicians using that as an argument to dismantle labour and environmental regulations. How often do we hear the phrase, this is bad for competitiveness, we've got to remove these regulations, even though they're essential regulations to protect the environment or labour standards? But secondly, actually, even when you get a really big boom, actually the growth is happening, it's happening in an unsustainable way, it's not necessarily taking the economy in the direction that we need. The second point, which so many of you are already familiar with, that the short-term bias that exists in the finance sector is also bad for financial stability and the environment. Most trustees focus very much on just short-term returns, whereas we know that to protect the environment and to lead us to a much more sustainable economy, we need to think in the long term. If we just think in one area, the energy sector, the extraordinary amount of finance and investment needed to transform the energy sector over the decades ahead. And looking at that just purely from a short-term point of view will not work. If we want a localised and vibrant economy, we need institutions that can respond to that can understand the needs of small and medium-sized enterprises and actually deliver what a local economy wants. And if we want a green stimulus to get us out of recession and to lay the foundations for a healthy and sustainable economy, we need a finance sector that will do that. You know, it's often said that the financial sector is good for the UK economy. Maybe it is, but I'll give you one statistic to chew on. In the 5 years leading up to the financial crisis, total tax returns received from the city added up to around £203 billion. On the most recent data available, the total cost of bailing out our banks cost the taxpayer over £1 trillion. Essentially what we've done is we've privatised the gains from this industry and socialised the losses. So what I'd urge you to do today at this incredibly important conference is actually not just see it as a conference. Friends of the Earth ultimately is a campaign organisation. It's very important to have these discussions. It's very important to have new ideas. But I don't want this just to be a talk shop today. I want this today to be a platform for action, because we need change and we need to work together. Private sector, financial institutions, NGOs, think tanks, universities, the works. We need to work together and take us in a new direction. And we need to transform finance. Thank you very much.